it includes everything. It includes proper sleep. It includes stress release. It includes nutrition. There's a lot of things involved in the big picture of health and wellness.
It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
Welcome to Health in the Real World. I'm here today with Jodi Ricker. I'm Janke. Jodi, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for joining me today. You're a fitness trainer. You're based in Kentucky. Tell a little bit about what you do, what type of client you usually help, and what your goals are as being a trainer.
Okay, well, I do a little bit of everything. So I teach regular fitness classes on Zoom. So we do Tabata, we do a class that I call Core and More, and also Pilates. But I also do, not just group fitness classes, but I also have clients for personal training. And some of my clients have some medical issues and neurological issues, that sort of thing. So I develop classes for them and also for seniors. So it's a little bit of everything. I have quite a background in different certifications. So it makes it very easy for me to just, if I get a new client, I can schedule classes for them to best meet their needs.
That's great. So what types of advice do you give people? Let's say you have a complete beginner, somebody who really doesn't have much experience with any kind of fitness. What is one of the most important things that person can do to get healthy and or fit?
Well, I think, first of all, they need to start with something that they enjoy. So, if somebody says, I really hate running, then I wouldn't say, well, you should take up running. I think it's important that somebody jumps in with something that they like, and they're not afraid to try new things. So they might go into some sort of class or some sort of activity and say, you know what, this just isn't for me. So then they need to be adaptable and to find something else that they will enjoy. Because if they enjoy what they're doing, there's a good chance they will stick with it, and they're not just going to give up and say, oh, well, that's it. And I know for myself, it was the same thing. I never really did like running. But I really wanted to run a half marathon. So I trained for that, and I didn't really like it. I'll never do it again. But that was just a goal that I had for myself.
Right.
So I think it's important for people to have goals, and it can be something really simple. Some of my clients, their goal is to be able to do 2 things in a row. These are some of my more advanced age clients, to do 2 things in a row without becoming so tired that they have to take a break in between doing those 2 things. So for a lot of people, we go, it's no big deal. Who can't do 2 things in a row? But for some people, that's difficult. So the goal, for that person in particular, would be just to get enough stamina and enough strength to be able to complete those 2 or 3 things without having to take a break.
Right. I think that's really good that you point that out, because it doesn't really matter where you are in your fitness journey. I see fitness as a 2-step process. 1 is figure out where you are, and 2, take 1 step. That's it. So if you are a super athlete, great, you're a super athlete. Let's take the next step. If you're a complete beginner, you're a complete beginner, and you take the next step. I also, I want to harp on what you said about when you ran a half marathon. Funny story. I have a similar experience. I ran cross country and track in high school. But then years went by. It was maybe 10 years since high school, and I decided that I wanted to run a marathon. I'd never run that long in my life. And it was the most disheartening thing in the world when I'm running and it says marathoners go straight, half marathoners turn off here, you're done. And it just hit me. I'm like, wow, I'm halfway done. Like, these people are exhausted leaving the half marathon, and here I am, I'm barely halfway done. My legs were turning into beef jerky jello.
Yes.
And just like you, I'm never going to do that again.
Well, and I did it with a friend of mine, and I remember running with him, and he's saying to me, look at that man behind us. He's 75. He's got to be 75, right? He goes, he's going to beat you across the
If,
finish line.
if he can do it, you can do it.
And I'm like, no, he's not. Like, that was my determination to finish. So I crossed over the finish line. I went right to physiotherapy, right?
Oh, geez.
Right from there, because I was pretty banged up, but
Really sore. And yeah.
yes. Yeah. So I have no desire to do that again.
Yeah.
But again, that's just me. So there's a lot of people who love to do things like that. But I think if you try to get yourself out of your own comfort zone once in a while, try new things as well. And again, it can be a one and done. You can just say, okay, nope, that's it. I'll never do that again. Or it can open some doors for you, and you might decide, I really like that. I really want to do better at that. I want to get fitter and stronger so I can do that again.
Yeah, and I think it is really important to try new things. And like you said, it could be a one and done. You could say, well, that's not for me. That
Mhm.
happened to me with hockey. My brother was really big on hockey when we were growing up, and I thought, hey, it'd be fun to try it. And so I went to one of his practices, and I think during the warm up, I just told him, I said, yeah, I'm done. And he just laughed at me. He's like, oh God, go on. But
Because, but when you see somebody who's really good at something doing it, you think, how hard can that be? Right.
right.
So, but then once you get in it and you go, oh, wow, okay, this is a lot more challenging than I anticipated. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
mhm.
absolutely. Absolutely. So Jodi, what do you tell somebody who's been maybe in the fitness game for a little while, or maybe achieved some introductory results, maybe in 6 months or a year,
Mhm.
but they sort of give up their motivation, they fall off the wagon? What's your pep talk to that person?
Basically to get back on that wagon and to keep going, because like I think that fitness has to evolve just like we evolve. So we might start out doing something that is great for now, but then we go, okay, I've been doing this for 5 years. Now I'm plateauing. Nothing else is happening. I'm not seeing any more changes. So they need to bump it up and need to add in other activities. And it can be something really simple, like, perhaps that person takes on cycling. Or if the person's already a cyclist, perhaps they take on Pilates. So that helps to build some more core strength for them, makes their balance better, it makes them stronger, their stamina is better. So I think it's just all about shifting what it is that they're doing in order to make them better at that sport and perhaps beyond.
Right. I think that's one thing that I've noticed as an adult that I heard as a kid. I played a lot of sports, and my coaches would always tell me, you need a wide variety of ranges of motion. You have to be good at a lot of different things. And
Yes.
I really just discounted it, saying, how can that even be possible? That's not true.
Mm.
And because of that, I ended up injuring myself because I was very one dimensional. I was just running, just straight line
Yes.
running. And I
Yes.
didn't have that lateral motion. I didn't do any Pilates or yoga type motions. Like, I know
Right.
you do Pilates, right?
I do. And it's interesting because when I got my first Pilates job, it was in Toronto, and it was at the University of Toronto. And I saw the ad online and I thought, I'm going to apply for that. So I did, and I got the job, but I was the only person to apply. So I kind of got into Pilates, not at the beginning, of course, because it's been around for a long, long
Yeah, like
time.
100 years, right?
Yes, yes, but it just kind of became famous again, like popular again.
Right.
So I applied and I got the job, and started out with 12 people in my class. And the campus actually is a training facility for the Toronto Argonauts football team. So some of these guys would come into my class, and I'm like, oh, okay, what am I going to do with these big guys, right? Because Pilates typically was meant to be, more for dancers and that sort of thing, at that time. And then I had all these guys in the class. I'm thinking they're not going to want to do anything I'm doing. So I had to adapt my class and had to make it more of a powerful workout so I could hold their interest as well and give them a good workout. But it was really fun to watch them because it's a lot harder than it appears. And I would have this young girl here as a little ballerina type girl, just going through the moves like it was no big deal. And you have this big, hefty football player who can barely do anything. Right.
Okay.
Every time I say straighten your leg, I get a 90-degree bend in his
Right.
knee
Who
because
get right. And a football player who is not only good at football, but gets paid to play football and use
right.
their body, and they're having a hard time with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it is fun to see the difference between, different groups of people and what they are good at. And then when they come into a Pilates class to
Yeah.
be, it's a little humbling, I think, when you first start out, because it is a lot harder than people anticipate.
Yeah. I think I agree with that. And speaking of humbling, I like to ask this next question because sometimes as trainers, people look at us and say, well, yeah, easy for you, you're a trainer, and they don't see all the work that's gone into it. And they also don't see our struggles, maybe because maybe we don't publicize them. But to kind of humanize you a little bit, where do you struggle with your health and fitness, and what sort of strategies have you used to get beyond that?
Okay, the thing I find most difficult, I'm good at doing, classes and working out and cycling and hiking. I'm good at doing that, and I'm very structured, and I love doing it. Nutrition is always going to be my downfall. I think I have to really, really focus on it, because if I don't, I'm happy just to, whatever's in front of me. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
eat this, right? So I have to really be careful with that. And I have to, pay a lot of attention to make sure that I'm actually getting what I need to fuel me and allow me to have the best workout. For example, my husband is an excellent cyclist, and we were out in the trails one day in Kentucky, and I didn't have much for breakfast, and it was so hot and so humid, and I was off my bike. I'm like, I can't do this. And then I said to him, "What's that blue building over there?" And he said, "What blue building?" I was actually starting to hallucinate because I was
Oh,
so dehydrated and hungry. I hit the wall, and that was it.
oh boy.
So that is my struggle, is the nutritional aspect. So I really have to pay a lot of attention to that and really be, careful with it, make sure I'm getting what I need.
Yeah, yeah. Nutrition is definitely something, and I'm sure it's, nutrition is something that you tell your clients, right? At the end of class or something. All right, guys, go eat a good lunch now. Now that
Right.
you got to work out, and it's something that we as trainers need to uh, sometimes get better at embodying what we preach. But
Yes.
being a trainer doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It just means that you learn and you set the standard, and maybe you personally don't hit that standard, but that's the standard that you're always trying to hit.
Right. And the other thing too with training is we typically don't just do one session or one class and then go home and have our lunch,
Right.
right?
Right.
So a lot of times, like at the peak of what I was doing, I did a lot of corporate fitness and wellness programs, and I would hire a lot of it out because I couldn't do it all myself. So I would have a bunch of classes going in different areas of Ontario. But I also had 4 or 5 classes a day. So I was driving from class to class to class. So basically you eat in your car, you grab the
Right.
coffee between classes, and you
Yeah.
eat in
Yeah.
the car before the next one. So of course you're not getting what you need
And you would do the classes with it. So you did like 5 hours of workouts a day.
I did in my
Wow.
peak.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Now, no, not doing that now. No, it's over. And I once had a lady ask me, "Why don't you do the whole class with us?" And I said, "Because after your class," I said, "I'm going to drive an hour and I'm going to teach another class. Then I'm going to go teach a group of high school teachers.
Right.
Then I've got 2 classes back to back tonight." So I
Yeah.
was constantly on the move.
Yeah.
So I said, if you want me here next week for this class, then you shouldn't be doing all these classes every day.
Yeah. When COVID first started, and I took my clients from the gym into the online space, and at the gym, typically I would have like 4 to 6 people in a class, and then I'd be there and I would sort of be yelling out what we're doing next. And I realized real quick that doing it on Zoom, I couldn't do that. I had to demonstrate it.
Right.
And instead of demonstrating and then looking up and demonstrating and looking up, I just did the whole class.
Right.
And I did 3. So I have 3 classes in a row. Still, even today, I had 3 classes in a row. And it took me about 4 months to get used to that many classes in a row, like just 3 hours straight. And I don't even my workouts aren't even that hard. There's a lot of stretching. There's a lot of light core work.
Mhm.
And I just remember I wasn't sore. I was dead.
Yes.
Like I would just go to sleep. I probably slept 10 hours a day for 3 months.
Wow.
And finally, after a couple months, my body started to adapt. And this is what I tell people too. This is just kind of a little tangent, but this is what I tell people as far as how quickly or slowly to expect results. I was already fit.
Mhm.
I've been a trainer for 15 years, and it took me 3 months to adapt to that. That's a long time. So, as far as getting people realistic expectations, like, hey, this is not going to happen in a week. Your body's going to need a little bit of time to adjust, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And we're all looking for a quick fix for things, right? Like I've had people call me and say like, hey, I have a high school reunion in 3 weeks and I want to lose, all this weight and look really good. And I'm like, I just want to say that you need to just call somebody else because
Right.
I would never feel right to take you on as a client, take your money knowing you're never going to achieve that in that period of time. That's
Right.
unfair to everybody. So yeah, but it's funny. People have, very unrealistic expectations sometimes, and when they say they want to lose 20 pounds in 3 weeks, it's like, did you gain 20 pounds in 3 weeks?
Right.
Like it's typically like kind of creeps up on people and then they expect to be able to lose it all at once. And it's not realistic.
I think the best time to hire a personal trainer to lose weight for your high school reunion is one day after your previous high school reunion. So you get a full like 5 years and you can completely transform your life and your body.
Yes.
And not that it's going to take that long necessarily, but just to get a better idea of the actual time frame. We're talking months and years, not days and weeks, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And you want your clients to succeed, right? Because if they don't, then, whose fault is it? Because they never say,
Right.
oh, well, it was my fault because I was, piling too many expectations on
Right.
myself.
Right.
It's always like, well, the trainer did,
Right.
she didn't tell me about this part, or she didn't talk to me about nutrition, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, it's, I like going into it with everybody having a clear understanding of, what sort of goals and they have and are these realistic goals.
Right. Absolutely. So, Jodi, this has been great as far as specific, talking about health, nutrition, fitness. Let's go a little bit bigger picture here. And I want you to imagine that you're called into either, let's say, a graduation or like a corporate event to give a motivational speech.
Okay.
What is in like 1 to 2 minutes? What are the highlights of that motivational speech? More big picture.
Well, I think that, when it comes to health and fitness and wellness, that people need to look at it as something that encompasses their entire life. It's not just one little aspect of it. And it might not even include, training with weights or doing anything like that. It includes everything. It includes proper sleep. It includes stress release. It includes nutrition. There's a lot of things involved in the big picture of health and wellness. So I think, sometimes people mainstream it too much and it's too like a tiny little area that they focus on because we all want to focus on what makes us appear better on the outside. But I think people need to really take it inside as well and, maybe deal with, some stress issues and things like that, because that has a huge impact on everything else that happens in your life. It has an impact on how you eat, on your relationships with family and others. So I think it's important to make sure that, you are looking at it as a big, evolving circumstance that you're not just focused in very narrowly in one area.
The full plate. Yeah,
Okay.
I know people, and I think I used to be like this, who I could say I was addicted to fitness,
Right.
and I don't know, that's not healthy, right? If you're so fit that, you're neglecting other things like sleep or stress
Yeah.
management, like you said, then yeah, you're
Yeah.
missing the big picture.
Right, because it can't go on just based on one thing, right? Like
Right.
you're only good at that one little section, but what about everything else?
Right.
It still is very important in your life, like your work life and your family life and all that. And I will say that's one great thing about doing things on Zoom, like doing our classes, our sessions on Zoom, is because it allows people to not cut into their family time as much, right? So they get
Right.
home from work. And I mean, I lived in Toronto. So anytime anybody came to my class, sometimes it could take them 45 minutes or an hour to even get to class. And then, then you got to park, and then the weather was an issue and all that sort of thing. But now on Zoom, your 1 hour class is truly an hour.
Right.
And if your children are in the room, or if you need to go and tend to a child, or your dog comes in, or whatever may happen, it really doesn't matter, because everybody mutes themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They can just tend to what they need to and come back. So I think it takes a lot of stress off people, just being able to do that. And it gives us the chance to still be with our clients in these times. A lot of my clients are in Canada, and a lot of them have been with me for over 20 years. We've been doing Pilates for over 20 years. Like I've watched kids grow up, from this little toddler that came to class the first night to a 21-year-old now, so it's really neat to see that. But I do think it, at first I was kind of iffy on it. I'm thinking, I don't know about this, but I like it, because it doesn't matter where in the world somebody is. If they want to join a class, not just anybody's class, they can join. Yep. We've got time zone issues, of course, for a lot of people, but it is really nice that they can just join in no matter where they are. And even drop in late if they have to, or if they have to leave early, like it all works really well.
Yeah. I had many clients who, right after we went to Zoom, they told me, look, I don't know if you plan on going back to the gym or not, but if you do, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
Because it was 45 minutes each way, and there's traffic, and it's just a hassle, right?
Right.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think too, because my circle of clients we're also friends, which is really nice. So we have once a month we get together on Zoom and we play cards, or we play Scatterboards, or last time it was Family Feud, and anybody in the class that wants to come can come, nice. and it's just nice to have the social bit of it still, because that's kind of what's lacking on Zoom. You tend to log in right at this time, and then you log out as soon as you're done. But this allows us to have that interaction with other people, and that's really important.
Yeah. The one thing I did to try to get more well, first of all, I allow people to keep their microphones on, and we kind of chit chat during the whole thing. I do tell people, like, if you're talking and it's time to switch exercises, I'm going to interrupt you, and if you don't stop talking, I will mute you. And like, people are very respectful, so that doesn't even happen. But what I've also done is that, because I realized that having classes, you lose out to some of that personal training, that one-on-one. And so what I told people is, hey, if you ever want to schedule some time with me, these are the hours that are open. I gave them a link to my calendar, just the same way that you booked this podcast, and they can come in and they can have a conversation with me, and I can get caught up as far as where they are, what their goals are. Maybe we can design a weightlifting program for them to do at home or something like that. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of options on Zoom. I agree with you.
There really is. Yeah. And I mean, I would rent space in Toronto in different areas, and people would come to classes. And then, and this is before we ever thought we'd be in this, situation we're in.
Yeah.
But at the time I had like one central class, and then I thought, well, what about the people that live like 45 minutes north of here?
Yeah.
They really don't want to drive. So maybe I need to go to them. So I started doing that. So I started having classes in all different areas surrounding the city. So that made it a little bit better for people. They didn't have to travel as far to come to classes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this is great. So some of the highlights of the podcast today, to summarize some of the things you said: start with something you enjoy. For example, if you hate running, don't run, do something that you do like. And then also at the same time, be open to trying new things. And it is important to try new things. As we progress in our fitness, we will evolve. If you hit a plateau, try something different, get something new. And then the holistic aspect. I really like how you talked about the holistic aspect of, sleep, stress management, nutrition, relationships, the whole deal. So, Jodi, I want to give you a chance. Tell people how to get in touch with you, how to, email, social media, website, any of those media.
Okay. I'm on Twitter and Instagram, and it's Jodi's Fit for All on both those platforms. You can find me on Facebook, Jodi Rickers. JodiRickers, and you can email me at jodi.rickers@hotmail.com.
Nice. Again, Jodi Rickers. Jodi, thank you so much for joining me today on Health in the Real World. I really appreciate having you here.
Thank you so much. It's been great. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.